But what's interesting about goals is that they have like a point that you want to get to, and then when you get there, you're on to the next goal. And that is problematic because, for instance, if your goal is to get married, well, what do you want your marriage to look like? How do you want it to evolve over the years, right? It can't just be like a destination, because a spiritual journey, there's actually never a destination. It's a forever ongoing process of learning and discovery. As I said earlier, the process is the purpose. So what we're talking about, and I don't like to use the word spirituality because I think it's misunderstood very often. It's overused, I would say. But I would like to talk about development of the soul. Because if we really approached our life and our growth on that aspect of us, that's everything, and we really looked at it as you would plan a business, you would never say, I want to create this business. I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 or 10 years from now. I'm not really sure what my core values, beliefs are and what we stand for, but I'm just going to go and put a lot of money, time, and energy there. And, we'll see what happens. We'll see where the chips fall. You would never approach a business that way. You perhaps wouldn't even approach having children or raising children that way. What has always confused me is that when it comes to soul, we mostly never stop and say, okay, what's my life plan for who I want to develop as a human being? And I remember years ago, it was actually my OBGYN who delivered all 4 of my children, but I had gone, so it's years and years ago. I think I had 2 kids by then. Anyway, I was there, and I said, yeah. He's like, do you have anything coming up? I said, I have a trip coming up. I'm giving a talk on your potential. He's like, your potential in what? He's a doctor, and he's like, he wanted your potential in what? Like as a businesswoman. And I looked at him, I said, your potential as a human being. And he just really looked at me with the most confused look ever. We kind of talked about it a little, but he still was having a hard time grasping it. And in that moment, I was like, wow, so many people, intelligent people, right? Driven people, successful people actually don't think about this most important concept of growing your soul's
potential.
Is so
right, exactly. We make plans for everything except for who we're going to become. I mean, it's such an important idea. And again, I don't want to gloss over it, although there's a lot that I'm excited to share. But like you said, I really ask all of our listeners, to heed what you said before. Make a mission statement for yourself. Really take the time, which would mean to look at who you are, who you want to be, who you want to become, and how you're going to get there. It's so important, again, because, and it's that phrase, and it's something we're going to share as well, but, being, right? Being, not doing, not goals, because you used before the example of, as we often see, and it's always surprising every time anew, where people spend so much time, effort, and worry. Who am I going to marry? How am I going to get married? They get married. Then the next day.
God, how can I get divorced?
Exactly. Why? Because often, again, of course, there's so many different reasons for different situations, but because you often brought the same person from 5 years ago into this marriage. If you haven't developed, and by the way, if your spouse hasn't developed, the person you want to be with hasn't developed and developing, it makes it much more difficult to both stay in a thriving relationship, and certainly over time.